Hey there! Today, we're tackling a massive word, democracy. It's a word that can literally build nations and start revolutions. But what if the way we all think about it, that simple definition we all learned, is just plain wrong? So I'll ask you straight up, what is democracy? I mean, really, what's the first thing that pops into your head when you hear that word? For a lot of us, our brains probably jump right back to a definition we learned in school, something with ancient roots.
Yeah, that classic textbook answer, right? It takes us all the way back to ancient Greece. You got demokratia. Demos means people, and kratia means rule. So boom, rule by the people. It sounds so simple, so clean. Kind of feels like case closed, doesn't it?
Or hey, maybe this is the one you think of. Abraham Lincoln's famous line. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It's got a real ring to it, right? So powerful, so beautiful, and it just feels final. But here's the thing. What if these famous, simple definitions aren't the end of the conversation? What if they're just the starting line?
Because, just relying on those old definitions can be a real trap. The source material we're looking at makes a fantastic point that came up in a classroom discussion. Words, well, they don't just stay put. Their meanings change, they evolve over time. Just think about the word computer. Originally, that just meant a machine for, well, computing, solving really hard math problems. But now, you're probably watching this on one. We use them for literally everything, making art, talking to friends, you name it. The word itself didn't change, but what it means? Whoa, that just completely exploded. And you know what? The exact same thing can happen with a big political idea.
And look, this isn't just a problem for these huge abstract concepts. I mean, think about it for a second. Could you, right now, write down a perfect definition of a pen? One that absolutely 100% of the time distinguishes it from a pencil, or a marker, or a crayon. It's tough. Or what about rain? When exactly does a light drizzle become actual rain? See, even the simplest words we use all the time are kind of slippery when you really try to nail them down. Okay, so this brings up a really important question, one that a student named Mary asks in our source material. If it's this hard, and hey, we get along just fine without a perfect definition for a pen or for rain, then why even bother? Why do we have to go through all this trouble to define democracy?
Well, the answer is because the stakes are incredibly high. This isn't some dusky academic debate. We need a clear definition because it's absolutely crucial to be able to tell the difference between the real deal and a really convincing fake. And here is the heart of the problem. The label, democracy, is so powerful, so desirable, that pretty much every government out there wants to slap it on themselves. But let's be real. Just because a government calls itself a democracy, that doesn't make it true. The word itself has so much power, and that means, you guessed it, it gets abused a lot.
There's this political cartoon from Iraq that our source material brings up, and it just nails this problem perfectly. Picture this. You see a ballot box, right? The ultimate symbol of voting. But it's not being carried in by election workers. Nope. It's being delivered by a military tank. And on the side of the tank in big letters is the word democracy, all while foreign powers are looking on. So just let that sink in for a second. What is the cartoonist trying to say? You've got this symbol of an election, the ballot box, but it's being brought in by force, by the military. It really makes you ask a tough question. Is just having an election, is that enough? Is that all it takes to make a democracy? Especially when it's happening at the point of a gun?
All right, so to sort through this mess, we've got to get past the pretty slogans and try to build a real, practical, working definition. So let's grab a common one and, kick the tires a bit. Let's see if it holds up.
Okay, so here's our starting point. It's pretty clean and simple, seems to do the trick. Democracy is a form of government where the rulers are elected by the people. Now, this is a super useful place to start because right away it lets us draw a pretty clear line in the sand. With this simple rule in hand, we can start putting governments into two different buckets. In one bucket, you've got systems where the leaders are actually chosen by the people. And in the other, well, you've got things like military rule, like we've seen in Myanmar, or monarchies, like Saudi Arabia, where power is either taken by force or just passed down through the family. In those cases, the people, they have zero say. But, and this is a huge but, here's where we hit a major snag. That definition, it's just not good enough.
See, if we stop right there, we'd be forced to call any country that holds an election a democracy. And that would be incredibly misleading because trust me, plenty of dictators are more than happy to put on the show of an election.
And that's exactly why our simple definition falls apart. It just can't tell the difference between a genuine democracy and one that's just pretending. I mean, look at the example of General Musharraf in Pakistan. He grabs power in a military coup, and then, what does he do? He holds a referendum to try and make it look legit. Sure, a vote happened, but was the process actually democratic? Now that's the million-dollar question.
So this really brings us right to the core of it all, the whole debate over what a democracy really is. It's not some settled thing from a history book. It's a live, ongoing, unfinished argument. And man, it is full of some seriously fascinating and pretty challenging ideas.
Just listen to this first quote. Oof, that's a pretty cynical take, right? It basically suggests democracy is just the freedom to pick how you're going to be oppressed. A pretty sharp reminder that self-rule comes with some heavy responsibilities.
Or how about this one? This one cuts even deeper. Wow, that really calls into question the whole idea of choice in an election, doesn't it? It asks, are we really choosing our leaders, or are we just falling for the one who's best at telling us what we want to hear? It's a huge critique of political marketing, really.
But okay, it's not all doom and gloom. Here's a more philosophical idea that really gets to the tension at the heart of all this. I love that. It's saying that the good in us makes democracy possible, but the bad in us makes it absolutely necessary to kind of save us from ourselves. It perfectly captures the paradox of the whole system.
And that leaves us with one last big, thought-provoking question, which comes from another great quote. All the ills of democracy can be cured by more democracy. What do you think? Is that really true? When we see all the problems, the flaws, the corruption, the failures in our own systems, is the answer to throw up our hands and give up? Or is it to demand more democracy? More participation from all of us, more fairness, more justice. I think that right there is the real, enduring challenge. Not just defining democracy, but actually living it.